Hello, and welcome to day 2 of the Secrets to Finding Freedom from Diabetes. I'm Terry Lindy with Destiny Management, and today we're going to be covering all of the key points with nutrition. So let's get started. First of all, hopefully you had a chance to do some of the homework from yesterday in determining your body fat percentage, where you feel your current fitness level is, and set some goals and rewards for you. So we're going to cover nutrition today and the key components, the benefits first. The main factor for nutrition is you're going to have much better energy and be able to recover on a day-to-day basis from just about every activity. You'll be able to live with stress better. And we all know in this new millennium, there's plenty of stress to deal with. You can excuse my clumsiness with technology, but we'll get there. Okay, these are the three main variables or keys to nutrition. The calories, the total number of calories that you consume throughout the day, the spacing of those calories, so how many calories you eat at each meal and how many times or the frequency that you eat, and the ratios of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. And this is a big key for managing your blood sugar. So how many calories do you need overall versus each meal? So the main variable that requires calories is your muscle mass, so your lean body mass. So this is going to be where the importance of knowing your body fat percentage and your lean body mass will come in for determining the calories. And the other largest component for how many calories you need is your activity level. Your body can only handle so many calories at one time. So roughly 300 to 500 calories is what you're looking at each meal. Anything more than 500 at a meal, and it's going to be too much for your body to digest and handle and process. So it's going to end up being stored as fat or excreted, and it usually ends up being stored as fat. So if you were eating 3,000 calories a day, you'd want to eat at least 6 meals of 500 calories each to get to that 3,000. If you ate 800 calories per day, a lot of it is going to end up being stored as fat, and you're going to fight your body going back and forth with how much lean body mass and fat mass. And it's kind of a yo-yo coming back and forth. So in your handouts, you have a formula for figuring out your body fat. It's a pretty extensive math equation, and it has a lot to do with basal metabolic rate, which is the first part of the equation. So for those of you who don't know, to convert pounds to kilograms, which is the kg in the formula, you divide your pounds by 2.2. So that would be the first step. And in the formula, you see you take your body weight in kilograms times 24 hours for the day. That's how many calories you require to maintain your lean body mass, breathing, heart function, and such, just laying completely still for 24 hours. Now, to this number, the second part of the equation, and I won't go into this too in depth, but you're subtracting the hours, your metabolism for the hours when you sleep. Because when you sleep, your metabolism slows down slightly. So you take off just a fraction of the calories to get your basal metabolic rate. Then the next part of the equation is figuring out how many calories you burn from an activity. And this is going to be a little bit more surprising to you. So this, you would use your total body weight in pounds, not your lean body mass. So the first part, it's best to use just your lean body mass, put it into kilograms, and put that part of the equation, or figure out the first half of the equation. Your total body weight should be used with your activity, because that's what you are moving. That's how much weight you are moving with anything you do, whether it's yard work or a sports activity, lifting weights, cardiovascular, you're always moving your entire body weight. And there are activity factors based on an average calorie burn for that certain activity. Now, if you wanted to be the most exact, you'd have to break down your activities hour by hour and multiply the activity factor by the according or with the activity that you were actually doing. But just take an average guess of what your activity is like over this 16-hour or whatever it might be for hours of activity. And this includes any waking moment. So it's 24 minus your hours of sleep to get your activity hours. Once you have this number, you're going to add those two together. And then there's also a need for calories to digest food. So that's where this last part comes in, where you add 10% of the total number on top of it, and that gives you how many calories per day you require just to maintain your body weight. Now, I'm going to put in the chat a link for a calculator that will be much easier to use for you to figure out how many calories per day you would require. So the average man in America is 5'10" and 154 pounds. The average woman is 5'4" and 130 pounds. So using these numbers, the average man requires 2,500 calories per day without any extra activity. So what that would mean is getting up in the morning, getting ready for work, driving to work, sitting all day at work, coming home, eating dinner, getting ready for bed, and going to sleep. That's without activity. The average woman needs 2,200 calories per day to maintain her lean body mass and heart and lung functioning. So when you go cut calories to go try and lose weight, your body thinks it's going into a starvation mode. It doesn't know that you can just go to the store anytime and get everything that you need, or a restaurant or whatever it might be. It doesn't know when the next food is coming in. So even a 10 calorie per day deficit, your body will start thinking it's starving. It's not going to be getting what it needs to maintain itself. And your body does everything it can to stay in a homeostatic environment, meaning it likes to be where it's comfortable. So cutting calories more than 500 calories per day is going to end up lowering your metabolism and having your body use your muscle for energy instead of the fat. So a pound of fat is equal to 3,500 calories. And if you were at a calorie deficit of 500 per day, that would equal 1 pound of fat loss per week. Now, the most that's physiologically possible for your body is 2 pounds per week. So if you lose weight and you're losing more than 2 pounds per week, you're going to be losing muscle and water, which ultimately will slow down your metabolism. You're either going to be getting sick or injured. And at that point, you're going to be decreasing your activity and increasing your calories usually, because that's going to help you recover and feel better. And then your metabolism being slowed down, now the calorie level that you're taking in is excess, so you start storing body fat. And then you cut the calories again and it keeps going. That's the yo-yo dieting. So want to try and keep a calorie deficit maximum of 500 calories per day. And if you're going with a greater deficit, it's better to do that with exercise. Now, on the flip side, gaining muscle, there's only 600 calories in a pound of muscle. And this is a long-held myth that it's always said that a pound of muscle weighs more than a pound of fat. And that's not true, because a pound is a pound. But a pound of muscle is a lot denser. It only has 600 calories. So you wouldn't need to increase your calorie level by 500 per day to gain a pound of muscle. You only need to go up 100 to 150 calories per day over your maintenance level to maximize lean body mass gain. So how often should you eat? Once you figure out the correct calorie level for your goals, whether it's maintenance, weight loss, weight gain, you need to understand the importance of the spacing of these calories. So on average, at 4 hours, your body gets into a post-absorption state. That's where your stomach has emptied and it doesn't know when the next food is coming in. So kind of think of your body like a fire. It needs kindling to constantly keep it going and keeping your metabolism burning the body fat that you want it to. So you need to be eating at least every 4 hours. And again, these are averages. So some people it might be 3 hours, some people it might be 5, but 4 is a good guideline. So even if you have half of a muffin or half of a candy bar or whatever it might be, something small to keep your metabolism going, I personally believe that's better than not eating at all. So you don't get into this post-absorption state and your body, at that point, your body starts setting up the hormones to store body fat and use your muscle for energy. So to avoid catabolism, which is the broken down part of metabolism. So your metabolism is comprised of two parts, catabolism and anabolism. And catabolism is breaking things down. Anabolism is building things up. And the metabolism is the whole system. Now, your body breaks down cells every single day, 300 million plus. And every 7 years, every single cell in your body has been replaced. So you want to make sure that you're giving your body the nutrients that it needs to regenerate itself, and that's going to help you live a much higher quality life because you'll be reproducing to the maximum capacity of your body. That's why different people age at different rates. So depending on nutrient levels that they're given, sometimes their copies aren't getting, they're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And there's a lot of factors involved with this, but to make sure that you're getting as best recovery as possible through all of this, you need to make sure that your calorie levels, you're getting what you need, you're getting the spacing. And then the next step is going to be how much protein, carbohydrate, and fat. So again, this is quite individual. There's a lot of variance with this, but you have to have these 3 macronutrients. So there's macronutrients and micronutrients, and the macronutrients are protein, carbohydrate, and fat. We're talking about food, and the micronutrients are your vitamins and minerals. So what controls insulin the best? When you eat carbohydrate, insulin gets spiked because insulin's job is to take calories out of your bloodstream and store them for future use. That's what insulin does. The opposite hormone to insulin is glucagon. And what glucagon does is takes calories out of storage and into your bloodstream to raise your blood sugar. And it's the balance between glucagon and insulin that manages your blood sugar and how full you feel and your energy. When either one gets out of whack, you're going to have certain signs that your body's going to be trying to tell you. So if you've ever eaten a meal and felt really groggy, like within a few minutes, you want to crawl in a corner and fall asleep, that's because something that you ate spiked insulin, spiked your blood sugar. You get all of this insulin released into your system, and then it takes the carbohydrate out and stores it as fat for future use. So then it lowers your blood sugar again. And the tiredness and the grogginess comes from the lowered blood sugar. Now, Thanksgiving dinner is notorious for this for a lot of people. But when this happens and you start getting up and moving around, you start waking up a little bit, you start feeling a little bit better energy, or after say about 20 to 30 minutes, you start feeling better also. And that's because movement and exercise stimulates glucagon. So that takes the calories out of storage and into your bloodstream and raises them. There's one other thing that does this, and that's protein. So protein and exercise stimulate glucagon, which raises your blood sugar. Carbohydrate stimulates insulin, which ultimately lowers your blood sugar. The other sign to look for is a sense of hunger or an empty feeling. So if you've eaten a meal and you still have a craving or feel like you need more, that's usually because you've had too much glucagon compared to the insulin. So what you're trying to do is learn what your body is telling you from these two signs and adjusting the amount of protein and carbohydrate at a meal until you find the right mix that gives you really good energy after you eat and gets you full and satisfied, even if you've eaten a small portion size. Typically, and there's not, unfortunately, a black and white rule on this, but if you have had too much protein compared to the carbohydrate, you're usually going to end up feeling a little bit hungrier after a meal. If you've had too much carbohydrate compared to the protein, you're going to end up feeling groggy and tired after the meal. So the first step is to try and analyze what you had. So let's say you had half of a chicken breast and a cup of pasta. And when you ate that, you started to get really tired in a few minutes and felt like you wanted to fall asleep. So what this next step would be is you would cut back to a half a cup of pasta and have 1.5 chicken breasts for protein. And that's going the opposite way. So if that makes you feel hungry afterwards or unsatisfied, then we'd go back and try and find a middle ground of the half a chicken breast and say a half a cup of pasta. If that gives you really good energy, then you can analyze the calories and the grams and do all of those types of calculations and match that for every single meal, which would be the ultimate goal. So finding the correct ratio for the protein and carbohydrate is the biggest thing that you can do with nutrition to help manage and keep a stable blood sugar all day long. Now, there's one other factor, one other macronutrient, and that's the fat. So what fat does is it slows the absorption of the carbohydrate. So the glycemic index is a very useful tool, and this is a rating system of how quickly a carbohydrate enters your system. The quicker a carbohydrate enters your system, the more insulin is released or spiked, and the more likely you are to feel groggy and tired afterwards, and then end up also hungry and eating more in the next couple hours. So if you have the correct amount of fat with the carbohydrate, it slows it down so that you don't get the spike in insulin. So that's the importance of fat. And also, if you ever hear the term essential, essential means that your body cannot manufacture it. It has to be gotten through the diet. So essential fats and essential amino acids are critical in a good nutrition program. Essential fats are your nuts, seeds, and oils. They're usually liquid at room temperature. And your essential amino acids come in complete proteins. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can still get a complete protein, but you need to know how to combine your foods, your vegetables, and grains to get a complete protein. I know this is a lot of information, so we are available anytime to go over any questions that you might have from this and help you with any of the calculations that you need help with or any questions that you might have. Water is the single most important nutrient to your body. So the average person, for the body fat level that they have, can live over a month without food. But everybody is going to die within 7 days, roughly, without enough water intake. So water is the medium that allows all of the nutrients in your body to be transported, and everything works on a gradient pressure with a cell where there has to be more pressure on one side of the cell to get the nutrient to transport into the cell. And water has to do with that. So if you're dehydrated, the nutrients don't transport as well. You're not going to metabolize as much body fat as well. You're not going to recover as well. Your energy, it affects everything. So how much water do you actually need? The recommended 8 glasses per day is for an average sedentary person. When you're active and sweating, you need more. If you have more lean body mass, which is comprised of roughly 60 to 70% water, you're going to need more water than somebody who's smaller. So when you're thirsty, you're usually dehydrated by 1 to 2% of your body weight. So just to keep the numbers simple, I'm going to use a 200-pound person. If they're dehydrated, if they're thirsty and they're dehydrated by 2% of their body weight, that's equal to 4 pounds. Now there's 8 pounds per gallon of water. So they're dehydrated by half a gallon of water. So they would need to drink a half gallon of water plus everything else they need during the day to stay hydrated, get hydrated, and then continue that pattern to stay hydrated. So a rough rule for hydration level is going to be your lean body mass divided by 2 is the minimum number of ounces per day that you need to maintain hydration. If you're sweating, you add 8 ounces for every 15 minutes of activity that you're sweating. If you have any caffeinated beverage or alcoholic or carbonated beverage, you add an extra ounce for ounce. So if you have 6 ounces of coffee, you need 6 extra ounces of water. That's because those items, or the caffeine, the carbonation, and the alcohol dehydrate your system. Now, it's tough to stay hydrated during the day. And usually what I'm going to hear is whenever I go over this with people, they're going to say, yeah, well, I'm going to end up in the bathroom all the time, which is true at first. And when I say dehydration, it doesn't mean that your body does not have water. It means that the water is not inside the cells where it should be. It's under the skin. So you're going to feel bloated when you're dehydrated usually. When you're taking in enough water, your body thinks that it's going to be getting enough externally, so it starts to flush out everything that it's been holding onto under your skin. That's why you start going to the bathroom all the time. It might be every 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it can last for a few hours, and depending on your hydration and your balance, it can even go on for a couple days. But once you get to a hydrated level and you continue to drink all of the water that you need on a given day, you won't have to go to the bathroom all the time. So that's one way to tell that you were dehydrated if you are having to go to the bathroom frequently. Now, if you can get through that process and maintain your hydration, that's great, but that's very difficult to do. You're going to get stuck in traffic, stuck in a meeting. There's going to be times where you can't drink consistently, and it's going to be like the calories. You can't get all of your water at the end of the day, or it will keep you up all night going to the bathroom. So try and space it out as much as possible, like 8 ounces every hour or such. You can't, if you skip a couple hours, you can't really make up for it by drinking 32 ounces all at once, or it will be flushed out. So you just do the best you can with this, and keep in mind that what we talked about with making habits and forming goals, it's not a matter of beating yourself up if you can't do this every single day. That's not realistic. You just do the best you can. And if you're only used to drinking 6 glasses of water per day now, don't try and make your goal a gallon right away. Make it 7 glasses per day. Get that going for a couple months and then go to 8 and get to the level where you need to be. One other thing I'd like to cover briefly are supplements needed. My opinion is supplements are an insurance policy. So if they're making up for deficiencies in your nutrition, that's a very expensive nutrition program. Ideally, you would be able to get all of the nutrients you need with your nutrition program, but soil depletion, chemicals, all those kinds of factors, there's no guarantee. There's been studies where they've taken a barrel of oranges, and some of the oranges have 60 milligrams of vitamin C like they're supposed to. Some have 0 milligrams, and some are anywhere in between. So depending on what orange you get, you might get your vitamin C or you might not. So supplements are always a good idea for an insurance policy. You don't need huge mega doses, but a good general vitamin and mineral and essential fatty acids would be a good minimum, in my opinion. If you're taking singular nutrients, it's okay to do that some of the time, but keep in mind that your body uses all of these nutrients together. So a singular nutrient is only really applicable when a deficiency occurs. And that can happen more frequently than you think. But again, just keep in mind, it's an insurance policy. It's not to be made up for poor nutrition. So how to manage your blood sugar with nutrition. Combination of the total calories per day, the spacing of those calories, and the ratios to manage insulin and glucagon are the keys to successfully keeping your blood sugar stable all day long without spikes or lows. This takes a good amount of time to figure out with your body. It's going to take you a couple months. It's not going to be an overnight process. So don't get discouraged. And there are many factors that are going to throw it off, such as stress levels, lack of sleep. Those types of factors affect your blood sugar and make it a normal, what you would consider a normal day, not work for you. But over time, you'll learn what your body's telling you with the signs of satiety, which is how full you feel after a meal, and your energy levels. So if you are having good energy levels and you have good satiety in between meals, you're not getting hungry, you're staying full for at least 2 to 3 hours, maybe closer to 4, you're doing the right things. If you're not, and you're getting those signs, you need to start making adjustments and learning what your body's telling you. And within a couple days, you'll know right away if the direction that you headed is the right one or if you need to go the other direction. Once you find out what works for you, you'll stick with that for the rest of your life. So if you'd like help with all of this, schedule an appointment with us. I'm going to put the link for our calendar in the chats, so you'll have that. But feel free to contact us anytime you might have questions, and would be glad to help you. I hope this didn't confuse you too much, and I do look forward to hearing from you, letting me know any comments that you might have, what could make this program better, easier to understand. And tomorrow we will be covering all of the key fitness principles, and then you will have everything you need to lead a healthier and a higher quality of life. Thanks for stopping by.